Hello everyone, my name is Rabia and I am a Smile Mom. And I'm also a Smile volunteer. So I'm a Smile Mom because I have a 5.5-year-old adorable kiddo named Adam who is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder accompanied with language impairment and developmental delay. I'm a Smile volunteer because I've been working with Smile for the past couple of years as a team lead to help organize their mom support group in the East End. And so in celebration and support of World Autism Day on April 2nd, I have been humbly asked by Smile to answer a few questions. So here it goes. The first question is, what do you feel is important for people to know about autism? And sounds a little repetitive, but I want people to start acknowledging that autism is a spectrum. It's in the diagnosis word itself, autism spectrum disorder. But what I find as my son is getting older, I'm having to navigate through the educational systems and healthcare systems and the social systems. I'm starting to see that the definition of autism is starting to narrow down and become more compartmentalized. And unfortunately for my son, he doesn't fall under the high functioning, the low functioning. And I know we don't use these terminologies anymore, so forgive me. But he's kind of in that gray area where you have to really extract at his diagnosis to understand his sensitivities and his needs. And so understanding that it is a spectrum, not just calling it autism spectrum, but understanding that it literally is a spectrum. And when you approach somebody who is a caregiver to somebody with autism or has autism, again, don't make assumptions based off somebody else that you know already has autism. Well, this person I know doesn't speak, or this person I know is sensitive to this, and therefore this person may be that way too. Leave those assumptions aside. And understand that autism is a very unique trait or an assembly of traits to describe a person. It's not a cookie cutter situation. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. The second question is, what does an inclusive space look like to you? And so in this question, a lot of times when we think about inclusive space, we think about the exterior, ramps and flooring and lighting and sounds. And as much as that is very important, a lot of times we disregard the internal attitudes and behaviors towards people who step foot into these social spaces. So a lot of times what happens when I come into a social gathering and I introduce my son as somebody who has autism, people tend to take a few feet back and they don't know how to react. And at that point I say, try your best to understand and try your best to ask questions and make it a more comfortable environment, as opposed to, I'm just not going to deal with this attitude, because I don't know what to do. Ask questions. And that kind of takes me to the next question, which is, how can our local communities cultivate inclusive spaces for people with autism? And the way you can do that is, don't be afraid to ask questions. If you see a caregiver for somebody who has autism, ask them. I tell my friends who have kids around my son's age, ask me how your kids can play with Adam. Ask me how your kids can greet Adam. What kind of games does Adam like? I have people asking me, what kind of toys does Adam like to play with? And sometimes the answer is not always so clear, because that's just the complexity of autism. But ask. Don't be afraid to ask. You're going to offend the person more by making an assumption and acting on your own assumptions, as opposed to just asking and getting an accurate answer. So that's for that question. The other point is transition. So one of the things that we think about when we talk about cultivating inclusive spaces, we're starting to see autism is becoming a more growing topic, and people understand what it is a lot more. And so we start to see stores and children play places starting to adapt to accommodating children with autism. Where I'm starting to see that gap is the transition of inclusion not seeping into places of worship. And I'd like to see more of that. Places of worship where they are opening up their doors to people like my son who are different, And again, sitting down with the caregivers and having this discussion about what can we do to make it more of a safe space for a child like Adam. The last question is, how can people spread more awareness this World Autism Day? And I'm not going to give you a generic answer about, do this and do that. I'm starting to notice that autism is becoming very commercialized. It's becoming narrowed down to a color or a logo or a slogan, and that is not autism. Yes, you can celebrate that particular day, April 2nd. You can wear blue, and you can promote autism through different logos and slogans, but it's an ongoing learning curve for everyone. I'm still learning about autism. I've been in the realm of autism for about 5 years now, and I'm still learning things about it. I still meet different people who have autism. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that. So how do you spread more awareness? Go out and find somebody who has autism. Find someone, and if you can't find a person, find somebody who's a caregiver to somebody who has autism. That is the best way to spread awareness, because once you are living, experiencing firsthand what it is, that's the best way to spread awareness about it. So I'm going to end it there. The last thing I'm going to say is volunteer. Volunteering is extremely important. It's one of the most kindest and humblest acts a human being can do, because you're giving your time and energy to somebody or a cause or an organization that you're not expecting anything in return from them. So it's an extremely humbling experience. Volunteer your time, and go out there and find organizations like Smile Canada, and see how you can help them out. And so I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.